Montana per mɒn္tænə is a state in the western region of the United States. The state's name is derived from the Spanish word Montana. Montana has several nicknames, although none official, including Big Sky Country and the Treasure State, and slogans that include Land of the Shining Mountains and, more recently, The Last Best Place. Montana has a 545-mile border with three Canadian provinces: British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, the only state to do so. It also borders North Dakota and South Dakota to the east, Wyoming to the south, and Idaho to the west and southwest. Montana is ranked 4th in size but 44th in population and 48th in population density of the 50 United States. The western third of Montana contains numerous mountain ranges. Smaller island ranges are found throughout the state. In total, 77 named ranges are part of the Rocky Mountains. The economy is primarily based on agriculture, including ranching and cereal grain farming. Other significant economic activities include oil, gas, coal and hard rock mining, lumber, and the fastest-growing sector, tourism. The healthcare, service, and government sectors also are significant to the state's economy. Millions of tourists annually visit Glacier National Park, the Little Big Horn Battlefield National Monument, and Yellowstone National Park. Etymology and naming history. The name Montana comes from the Spanish word montaña, meaning mountain, or more broadly, mountainous country. Montana del Norte was the name given by early Spanish explorers to the entire mountainous region of the West. The name Montana was added to a bill by the United States House Committee on Territories, which was chaired at the time by Whither James Ashley of Ohio, for the territory that would become Idaho Territory. The name was successfully changed by Representatives Henry Wilson and Benjamin F. Harding, who complained that Montana had no meaning. When Ashley presented a bill to establish a temporary government in 1864 for a new territory to be carved out of Idaho, he again chose Montana Territory. This time Whither Samuel Cox, also of Ohio, objected to the name. Cox complained that the name was a misnomer given that most of the territory was not mountainous and that a Native American name would be more appropriate than a Spanish one. Other names such as Shoshone were suggested, but it was eventually decided that the Committee on Territories could name it whatever they wanted. So the original name of Montana was adopted. Geography. With a total area of 147,040 square miles, Montana is slightly larger than Japan. It is the fourth largest state in the United States, after Alaska, Texas, and California, the largest landlocked U.S. state, and the 56th largest national state, province subdivision in the world. To the north, Montana shares a 545-mile border with three Canadian provinces: British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, the only state to do so. It borders North Dakota and South Dakota to the east, Wyoming to the south, and Idaho to the west and southwest. Topography. The topography of the state is roughly defined by the Continental Divide, which splits much of the state into distinct eastern and western regions. Most of Montana's 100 or more named mountain ranges are concentrated in the western half of the state, most of which is geologically and geographically part of the northern Rocky Mountains. The Absaroka and Beartooth ranges in the south-central part of the state are technically part of the Central Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountain front is a significant feature in the north-central portion of the state, and there are a number of isolated island ranges that interrupt the prairie landscape common in the central and eastern parts of the state. About 60% of the state is prairie, part of the northern Great Plains. The Bitterroot Mountains, one of the longest continuous ranges in the entire Rocky Mountain chain from Alaska to Mexico, along with smaller ranges, including the Coeur d'Alene Mountains and the Cabinet Mountains, divide the state from Idaho. The southern third of the Bitterroot Range blends into the Continental Divide. Other major mountain ranges west of the Divide include the Cabinet Mountains, the Anaconda Range, the Missions, the Garnet Range, Sapphire Mountains, and Flint Creek Range. The northern section of the Divide, where the mountains give way rapidly to prairie, is part of the Rocky Mountain Front. The front is most pronounced in the Lewis Range, located primarily in Glacier National Park. Due to the configuration of mountain ranges in Glacier National Park, the northern divide crosses this region and turns east in Montana at Triple Divide Peak. It causes the Waterton River, Belly, and St. Mary rivers to flow north into Alberta, Canada. They join the Saskatchewan River, which ultimately empties into Hudson Bay. East of the Divide, several roughly parallel ranges cover the southern part of the state, including the Gravely Range, the Madison Range, Gallatin Range, Absaroka Mountains, and the Beartooth Mountains. The Beartooth Plateau is the largest continuous land mass over 10,000 feet high in the continental United States. It contains the highest point in the state, Granite Peak, 12,799 feet high. North of these ranges are the Big Belt Mountains, Bridger Mountains, Tobacco Roots, and several island ranges, including the Crazy Mountains and Little Belt Mountains. Between many mountain ranges are rich river valleys. The Big Hole Valley, Bitterroot Valley, Gallatin Valley, Flathead Valley, and Paradise Valley have extensive agricultural resources and multiple opportunities for tourism and recreation. East and north of this transition zone of the expansive and sparsely populated northern plains, with tableland prairies, smaller island mountain ranges, and badlands. The isolated island ranges east of the Divide include the Bear Paw Mountains, Bull Mountains, Castle Mountains, Crazy Mountains, Highwood Mountains, Judith Mountains, Little Belt Mountains, Little Rocky Mountains, the Pryor Mountains, Snowy Mountains, Sweetgrass Hills, and, in the southeastern corner of the state near Ekalaka, the Long Pines. Many of these isolated eastern ranges were created about 120 to 66 million years ago when magma welling up from the interior cracked and bowed the Earth's surface here. The area east of the Divide in the north-central portion of the state is known for the Missouri Breaks and other significant rock formations. 3 buttes south of Great Falls are major landmarks: Cascade, Crown, Square, Shore, and Buttes. Known as laccoliths, they formed when igneous rock protruded through cracks in the sedimentary rock. The underlying surface consists of sandstone and shale. Surface soils in the area are highly diverse and greatly affected by the local geology, whether glaciated plain, intermountain basin, mountain foothills, or tableland. Foothill regions are often covered in weathered stone or broken slate, or consist of uncovered bare rock. The soil of intermountain basins usually consists of clay, gravel, sand, silt, and volcanic ash, much of it laid down by lakes which covered the region during the Oligocene 33 to 23 million years ago. Tablelands are often topped with argillite, gravel, and weathered quartzite, occasionally underlain by shale. The glaciated plains are generally covered in clay, gravel, sand, and silt, left by the proglacial Lake Great Falls of by moraines or gravel-covered former lake basins left by the Wisconsin glaciation 85,000 to 11,000 years ago. Farther east, areas such as Makoshika State Park near Glendive and Medicine Rock State Park near Ekalaka contain some of the most scenic badlands regions in the state. The Hell Creek Formation in northeast Montana is a major source of dinosaur fossils. Paleontologist Jack Horner of the Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman brought this formation to the world's attention with several major finds. Rivers, lakes and reservoirs. Montana contains thousands of named rivers and creeks, 450 miles of which are known for blue ribbon trout fishing. Montana's water resources provide for recreation, hydropower, crop and forage irrigation, mining, and water for human consumption. Montana is one of few geographic areas in the world whose rivers form parts of three major watersheds. Its rivers feed the Pacific Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, and Hudson Bay. The watersheds divide at Triple Divide Peak in Glacier National Park, Pacific Ocean Drainage Basin. West of the divide, the Clark Fork of the Columbia rises near Butte and flows northwest to Missoula, where it is joined by the Blackfoot River and Bitterroot River. Farther downstream, it is joined by the Flathead River before entering Idaho near Lake Pend-Oreille. The Pend-Oreille River forms the outflow of Lake Pend-Oreille. The Pend-Oreille River joined the Columbia River, which flows to the Pacific Ocean, making the 579-mile-long Clark Fork, Pend-Oreille the longest river in the Rocky Mountains. The Clark Fork discharges the greatest volume of water of any river exiting the state. The Kootenai River in northwest Montana is another major tributary of the Columbia. Gulf of Mexico drainage basin. East of the divide, the Missouri River, which is formed by the confluence of the Jefferson, Madison, and Gallatin rivers near Three Forks, flows due north through the west-central part of the state to Great Falls. For this point, it then flows generally east through fairly flat agricultural land, and the Missouri breaks to Fort Peck Reservoir, the stretch of river between Fort Benton and the Fred Robinson Bridge at the western boundary of Fort Peck Reservoir was designated a National Wild and Scenic River in 1976. The Missouri enters North Dakota near Fort Union, having drained more than half the land area of Montana. Nearly one-third of the Missouri River in Montana lies behind 10 dams: Toston, Canyon Ferry, Hauser, Holter, Black Eagle, Rainbow, Cochrane, Ryan, Maroney, and Fort Peck. The Yellowstone River rises on the Continental Divide near Younts Peak in Wyoming's Teton Wilderness. It flows north through Yellowstone National Park, enters Montana near Gardner, and passes through the Paradise Valley to Livingston. It then flows northeasterly across the state through Billings, Miles City, Glendale, and Sidney. The Yellowstone joins the Missouri in North Dakota just east of Fort Union. It is the longest undammed, free-flowing river in the contiguous United States, and drains about a quarter of Montana. Other major Montana tributaries of the Missouri include the Smith, Milk, Marias, Judith, and Musselshell rivers. Montana also claims the disputed title of possessing the world's shortest river, the Roe River, just outside Great Falls. Through the Missouri, these rivers ultimately join the Mississippi River and flow into the Gulf of Mexico. Major tributaries of the Yellowstone include the Boulder, Stillwater, Clarks Fork, Bighorn, Tongue, and Powder rivers. Hudson Bay drainage basin. The northern divide turns east in Montana at Triple Divide Peak, causing the Waterton River, Belly, and St. Mary rivers to flow north into Alberta. They join the Saskatchewan River, which ultimately empties into Hudson Bay. Lakes and reservoirs. There are at least 3,223 named lakes and reservoirs in Montana, including Flathead Lake, the largest natural freshwater lake in the western United States. Other major lakes include Whitefish Lake in the Flathead Valley and Lake McDonald and St. Mary Lake in Glacier National Park. The largest reservoir in the state is Fort Peck Reservoir on the Missouri River, which is contained by the second-largest earthen dam and largest hydraulically filled dam in the world. Other major reservoirs include Hungry Horse on the Flathead River, Lake Coocanyusa on the Kootenai River, Lake Elwell on the Marias River, Clark Canyon on the Beaverhead River, Yellowtail on the Bighorn River, Canyon Ferry, Hauser, Holter, Rainbow, and Black Eagle on the Missouri River. Flora and fauna. Vegetation of the state includes lodgepole pine, ponderosa pine, Douglas fir, larch, spruce, aspen, birch, red cedar, hemlock, ash, alder, Rocky Mountain maple, and cottonwood trees. Forests cover approximately 25% of the state. Flowers native to Montana include asters, bitterroots, daisies, lupins, poppies, primroses, columbine, lilies, orchids, and dryads. Several species of sagebrush and cactus and many species of grasses are common. Many species of mushrooms and lichens are also found in the state. Montana is home to a diverse array of fauna that includes 14 amphibian, 90 fish, 117 mammal, 20 reptile, and 427 bird species. Additionally, there are over 10,000 invertebrate species, including 180 mollusks and 30 crustaceans. Montana has the largest grizzly bear population in the lower 48 states. Montana hosts 5 federally endangered species: black-footed ferret, whooping crane, Lee's tern, pallid sturgeon, and white sturgeon, and 7 threatened species including the grizzly bear, Canadian lynx, and bull trout. The Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife and Parks manages fishing and hunting seasons for at least 17 species of game fish, including 7 species of trout, walleye, and smallmouth bass, and at least 29 species of game birds and animals, including ringneck pheasant, gray partridge, elk, pronghorn antelope, mule deer, white-tailed deer, gray wolf, and bighorn sheep. Protected lands. Montana contains Glacier National Park, the crown of the continent, and portions of Yellowstone National Park, including 3 of the park's 5 entrances. Other federally recognized sites include the Little Bighorn National Monument, Bighorn Canyon National Recreation Area, Big Hole National Battlefield, and the National Bison Range. Approximately 31,300,000 acres, or 35% of Montana's land, is administered by federal estate agencies. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Forest Service administers 16,800,000 acres of forest land in 10 national forests. There are approximately 3,300,000 acres of wilderness in 12 separate wilderness areas that are part of the National Wilderness Preservation System, established by the Wilderness Act of 1964. The U.S. Department of the Interior Bureau of Land Management controls 8,100,000 acres of federal land. The U.S. Department of the Interior Fish and Wildlife Service administers 110,000 acres of 1.1 million acres of national wildlife refuges and waterfowl production areas in Montana. The U.S. Department of the Interior Bureau of Reclamation administers approximately 300,000 acres of land and water surface in the state. The Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife and Parks operates approximately 275,265 acres of state parks and access points on the state's rivers and lakes. The Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation manages 5,200,000 acres of school trust land ceded by the federal government under the Land Ordinance of 1785 to the state in 1889 when Montana was granted statehood. These lands are managed by the state for the benefit of public schools and institutions in the state. Areas managed by the National Park Service include Big Hole National Battlefield near Wisdom, Bighorn Canyon National Recreation Area near Fort Smith, Glacier National Park, Grant Cause Ranch National Historic Site at Deer Lodge, Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail, Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument near Crow Agency, Nez Perce National Historical Park, Yellowstone National Park. Climate: Montana is a large state with considerable variation in geography, and the climate is, therefore, equally varied. The state spans from below the 45th parallel to the 49th parallel, and elevations range from under 2,000 feet to nearly 13,000 feet above sea level. The western half is mountainous, interrupted by numerous large valleys. Eastern Montana comprises plains and badlands, broken by hills and isolated mountain ranges, and has a semi-arid, continental climate. The Continental Divide has a considerable effect on the climate, as it restricts the flow of warmer air from the Pacific from moving east, and drier continental air from moving west. The area west of the Divide has a modified northern Pacific coast climate, with milder winters, cooler summers, less wind and a longer growing season. Low clouds and fog often form in the valleys west of the Divide in winter, but this is rarely seen in the east. Average daytime temperatures vary from 28 degrees Fahrenheit to -2.2 degrees Celsius in January to 84.5 degrees Fahrenheit to 29.2 degrees Celsius in July. The variation in geography leads to great variation in temperature. The highest observed summer temperature was 117 degrees Fahrenheit to 47.2 degrees Celsius at Glendive on July 20, 1893, and Medicine Lake on July 5, 1937. Throughout the state, summer nights are generally cool and pleasant. Extremely hot weather is less common above 4,000 feet to 1,200 meters. Snowfall has been recorded in all months of the year in the more mountainous areas of central and western Montana, though it is rare in July and August. The coldest temperature on record for Montana is also the coldest temperature for the entire contiguous U.S. on January 20, 1954, -70 degrees Fahrenheit, -56.7 degrees Celsius was recorded at a gold mining camp near Rogers Pass. Temperatures vary greatly on such cold nights, and Helena, 40 miles to the southeast, had a low of only -36 degrees Fahrenheit, -37.8 degrees Celsius on the same date, and an all-time record low of -42 degrees Fahrenheit, -41.1 degrees Celsius. Winter cold spells are usually the result of cold continental air coming south from Canada. The front is often well defined, causing a large temperature drop in a 24-hour period. Conversely, airflow from the southwest results in Chinooks. These steady 25 to 50 miles per hour winds can suddenly warm parts of Montana, especially areas just to the east of the mountains, where temperatures sometimes rise up to 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit for periods of 10 days or longer. Loma is the location of the most extreme recorded temperature change in a 24-hour period in the United States. On January 15, 1972, a Chinook wind blew in and the temperature rose from -54 to 49 degrees Fahrenheit. Average annual precipitation is 15 inches, but great variations are seen. The mountain ranges block the moist Pacific air, holding moisture in the western valleys, and creating rain shadows to the east. Heron, in the west, receives the most precipitation, 34.70 inches. On the eastern side of a mountain range, the valleys are much drier. Lone Pine averages 11.45 inches, and Deer Lodge 11.00 inches of precipitation. The mountains themselves can can receive over 100 inches. For example, the Grinnell Glacier in Glacier National Park gets 105 inch. An area southwest of Belfry averaged only 6.59 inches over a 16-year period. Most of the larger cities get 30 to 50 inches, is 0.76 to 1.27 meters of snow each year. Mountain ranges themselves can accumulate 300 inches, or 7.62 meters of snow during a winter. Heavy snowstorms may occur any time from September through May, though most snow falls from November to March. The climate has become warmer in Montana and continues to do so. The glaciers in Glacier National Park have receded and are predicted to melt away completely in a few decades. Many Montana cities set heat records during July 2007, the hottest month ever recorded in Montana. Winters are warmer, too, and have fewer cold spells. Previously, these cold spells had killed off bark beetles, but these are now attacking the forests of western Montana. The warmer winters in the region have allowed various species to expand the ranges and proliferate. The combination of warmer weather, attack by beetles, and mismanagement during past years has led to a substantial increase in the severity of forest fires in Montana. According to a study done for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency by the Harvard School of Engineering and Applied Science, portions of Montana will experience a 200% increase in area burned by wildfires, and an 80% increase in related air pollution. The table below lists average temperatures for the warmest and coldest month for the 7 largest cities in Montana. The coldest month varies between December and January depending on location, although figures are similar throughout. Antipodes, Montana is one of only 2 continental U.S. states which is antipodal to land. The Kerguelen Islands are antipodal to the Montana-Saskatchewan-Alberta border. No towns are precisely antipodal to Kerguelen, though Chester and Rudyard are close.